If you were picking an all-time Montreal Canadiens team, but could pick only one of Jacques Plante or Patrick Roy, or only one of Rocket Richard or Guy Lafleur, who would you choose? TSN made those hard calls and more in assembling the ultimate Habs squad organized along the lines of a real team, not an all-star team. The TSN selection committee had just two rules. It could pick only 8 Hall of Famers, 1 goalie, 3 defensemen, 4 forwards, and players must be slotted in positions that closely match their real roles with the Canadiens.
In goal, Jacques Plante gets the nod over Patrick Roy. Plante was a pioneering goalie who changed the face of the game and the way the position was played during the 1950s. His backup, Michel Bunny Larocque, the consummate number 2 goalie to Ken Dryden during the Habs' 4-year 1970 Stanley Cup reign. Heading the first pair of defensemen is the brilliant Doug Harvey, who didn't win the Norris Trophy as much as own it during the 1950s and 60s. He controlled games so calmly, legend has it he could have played the game in a rocking chair. His partner, current Hab, Mike Komisarek, the hard-hitting, shot-blocking, perfect complement to Harvey. Teaming up in the second pair are Larry Robinson and Serge Savard. The longtime 1970s teammates were brilliant all-round defensemen who share the distinction of being the only 2 Montreal defensemen to win the Conn Smythe Trophy. Filling the number 5 and number 6 slots on defense are Ted Harris, who provided toughness and size on 4 Stanley Cup winning teams during the 1960s, and Craig Ludwig, a goalie's best friend who used his trademark wide shin pads to block shots during the 1980s. The Hall of Fame first line is a tribute to the historic teams that won 5 Stanley Cups from 1956 through 1960. At left wing is Dickie Moore, the relentless puck hound who won 2 scoring championships. At right wing, Rocket Richard, who was the very spirit of scoring, retiring with 544 goals, a standard that stood as tops all time in the NHL for 11 years. In the middle, Jean Beliveau, whose 10 berths in the first and second All-Star team are second only to Wayne Gretzky's 15 in the NHL record books. The second line is a blend of spit and polish. 1960s left-winger John Ferguson won 5 cups in 8 seasons, and a reputation as the best policeman in hockey history.
Active center Saku Koivu is a lowercase Henri Richard. Like the pocket rocket before him, Koivu does it with speed, skill, and stick-to-itiveness.
At the right wing, Bobby Rousseau, who delivered silky skill and consistent offense during the 1960s. The checking line is led by Bob Gainey. He was so good at his job, the NHL introduced the Frank Selke Trophy for Best Defensive Forward in 1978. Gainey won it the first 4 years. Center Guy Carbonneau was a premier penalty killer who won faceoffs and the Bob Gainey Trophy, the Frank Selke Trophy, 3 times during the late 1980s and early 90s. Right winger Claude Provost was kryptonite to Bobby Hull's Superman in the 1960s, and the Habs' diligent defensive conscience for 15 seasons. Finally, the energy line. 4-time Cup champion Andre Pronovost was part of the 1950s powerhouse team. Center Brian Scrudland was an accumulation of flying appendages and a human Java jolt who started his career with a Cup victory in 1986. And right winger Jimmy Roberts won 5 Cup titles during the 1960s and 70s, raising the utility role to an art form. There you have it, a virtual reality Montreal Canadiens team that, like the real one over much of its 100 seasons, would be virtually unbeatable.